Welcome to the Detailing Down Under podcast, the place for everything auto detailing in Australia right now. Here's your host, Dale Guthrie.
G'day and welcome to the Detailing Down Under podcast. I'm your host, and once again, I'm joined by Joe. Morning, Joe.
Morning, everyone.
How's things up there?
Good, mate. Keep them real busy. Detailing never stops. It's great.
Things drying out?
A little bit, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's still raining.
Yeah.
But nah, it's all right. We're used to it.
Yeah. No, awesome. So, yeah, we've been doing quite a few episodes late, so it's really good. So they'll start coming out very shortly. So this one's another awesome one as always. So yeah, all the way from Sydney we got Elias from the Detail Lab in Sydney. Good morning, mate. How you going?
Morning, Dale. How you going? Morning, Joe.
Good morning. I'm just going to go lock my office door so the kids don't come in.
You do that, mate. Sounds like a good idea.
How's things in Sydney, mate?
Yeah, Sydney's a funny economy, mate. At any given time of the year, especially post-COVID, you can't really gauge what's happening at any time of the year, I suppose. It's hard for predictability. Sometimes you see better months, sometimes you see worse months, and none of them really correspond or correlate to the previous year and so forth. So I dare say that a lot of business owners, if they're listening from Sydney, they're going to be able to correlate to that.
So I wonder about that because Sydney is a different market, I believe, and it's interesting to see how it's traveling at the moment. And
yeah, it's very diverse, and like there was a lot of new pop-up detailers came, post COVID and during COVID and so forth. But I think that they're finding their place on the market, whether it's for them or not. During a little bit harder times or hardship during financial downturns and so forth. So I think the next year or two is going to be quite an interesting place to see where everyone ends up and how the market corrects itself and so forth.
yeah, that's interesting because that when the struggles happen, that's when they usually start shutting up shop. Them ones that have just popped up, trying to get a quick buck and stuff like that. So
yeah, they did. And look, and I knew a few of them from, I used to have a few guys that helped me out at the previous shop when we were over in Lane Cove, just assisting me because we needed to just pull in a few of the contractors as per se. And they were happy to assist. But during their time while they're there, like, I'm going to go and get a shop and so forth. I'm like, mate, just slow down a little bit. Yeah. Like you've only been doing this, for 6 months or whatever. And they're like, no, but I've got heaps of clients and so forth. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know where you've gotten them from because you don't advertise. You don't have a social media presence. I don't see you on Google My Business. You don't even have a decent website. My advice is just keep rolling as you are, just mobile. Your overheads are low. You don't have much expenditure as per se, staff and so forth. Why do you want to go get yourself, on a large overhead and large commitment? And some of these chaps didn't go ahead with it, which was good. And they've pretty much close to wound down their businesses anyway, moving forward about 2-3 years after that said time. So others I did see sort of open up and then, they were kind of crying afterwards. Oh, you see them on the forums and the pages. Oh, what are you guys doing? How busy are you guys? What's going on out there? I'm finding that, last month it was very busy. Now all of a sudden I got nothing. I'm thinking, well, that's part and parcel of what's going to happen. If you just jump in this thing too fast, too strong, when you're not basing things off organic growth as per se from a business perspective, and you're just putting it in the hands of the market and the economy at the time as to what it was doing, where let's admit it, the truth is during COVID, there was the sea was full of fish. Yeah.
Money was everywhere.
Like it was overflowing. So it wasn't strange or a surprise that, every Tom, Dick and Harry that jumped on board that want to be a detailer had work for himself. Like there was surplus of work going around. Everyone just wanted to splurge money and splash it where they could. But then once that craze sort of died down and we came out of that, then, we went back to reality. And if not even worse than what reality was, there was a little bit of a rewind there. And you're going, wow, okay, so this is what the economy is really like. And it's like, yeah, this is what it's really like. This is what it was before we saw COVID. And this this is what it's going to be like after COVID, and if not a little bit worse, especially, with
Mm.
the dampening of the interest rate pressures and so forth that was put on by the economy. So I think some of the you'd have to have been pretty established beforehand and had a little bit of capital to carry you through, the waves that you were about to and the storms that you were about to face. Otherwise, there would have been a lot of pressure on these business owners with a lot of overheads that they've just jumped in it too soon to be able to perform. And no one tells you a side of all the glossiness of the look of your business and your branding and your social media presence and so forth. There's a lot of weight and a lot of stress on your back when the work isn't flowing exactly how you'd envision it to.
Mm.
And I think, you guys also owning your own business as well would have found exactly the same thing, that you went through the same turmoil. You had your highs and you had your lows, but guess what? Your social media only showed your highs, right?
Yeah, only.
Like,
Yep.
how many times was there a point where there might have only been a car or two in your shop, Joe?
Oh, there was a couple of those times.
Right. Okay. Where
But
you,
but
yeah,
not very
what,
often. But
all
not
right.
very often, yeah.
Okay. But was it on social media?
A lot of it was just word of mouth and old
No,
customers that
I'm
have
saying,
come
but
back.
was that
Oh, was
presented?
that on social media?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Nah, not all the time, eh? You don't
Exactly.
not really want to show that.
That's
It's
right.
not as
Right.
glitz and glamour.
Correct. But I think that we need to
You're
be,
spot on.
yeah, we need to be realistic here and let the listeners with other businesses know that everyone goes through exactly the same thing. You're not
Yeah.
alone out there if you don't have any work. And what I've also found is that a lot of people in the industry, due to may it be pride or ego or so forth, you're going to ask them how they're going. Oh, mate, we're flat out. We're so busy, this and that. Bullshit, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, bullshit. You're not very
Yeah.
busy.
Or
I
you're flat out, but you're not flat out making money. You're flat out
Well, that's another thing. Yeah,
like
like
like just running around the countryside and being bossed around and yeah.
that's right. And I think a lot of people need to understand that, if they're reading people's stories on Facebook on some of these, enthusiast pages or what have you not, where someone's saying, I'm booked out for a few months. If you just quickly click on his profile, you're going to find he's a weekend warrior,
Yeah.
right? So by him
Yeah.
meaning I'm booked out for a month or two means he's got 8 jobs in, because it's a job, 2 jobs per week. Yeah, in a month, that's only
Yeah.
8 jobs. So if you're running a day-to-day week, like, that's your week's worth. So when that guy
Mm.
says I'm booked out for 2 months, it means he's booked out for solely your equivalent of 2 weeks. So don't feel too disheartened or,
Yeah.
like, under the carpet if you're hearing this kind of stuff. And at the end of the day as well, what I found during my time is I just stayed in my own lane.
Mm.
Mm.
I didn't focus on a lot of this external noise that was going on, what people saying, I'm really busy, I'm not busy, I'm really busy. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't really change what's going on in your,
Yeah.
in your life and in your business, whether they're super busy or not. I mean, if they're super busy and it's the truth and you're not, well, it might be a good indicator of maybe what are you doing wrong as per se, and why are they super busy and you're not. But I always take it, with a grain of salt when I listen to people saying how busy they are, because I'm not stupid in business, and I'd like to think I've made, covered my ass in all aspects, from social media to online presence to, SEO and so forth. So I'm like, look, if I've been super busy before in the past and it's coming through organic listings and stuff like that, if there is a
Yeah.
downturn, you're not busy, well then, mate, there's probably not much you're going to be able to do about it. You can't control
Mm.
the economy.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like for all the listeners out there, like you know, go check out Elias's like even your website, like we'll talk about it later, but you've got over 300 Google reviews. So you're not just,
Oh,
you
don't go
know,
into the Google reviews right now because they're tanking. But
yeah, I know there's some
yeah, yeah,
conspiracy
that's
going on
another
there, but
topic.
must be Trump. But
Yeah, yeah, it's the Trump effect. Yeah,
tariffs on Google reviews.
yeah, taxes on Google reviews.
But but yeah, like you've got a lot of meat in the game. You've been doing it for years, like probably 15, 20 years. I can't really remember. But let's start at the start. Like, give
Yeah,
us an overview. Give it the people who don't know you, like,
yeah.
hadn't even part of the story. I wouldn't even know. Like, how did you start? And why, and just fill us in on the blanks of like what was like when you first got started. You're in the second shop now, so
This
talk
is the
about that.
third. This is the third shop,
A third,
technically.
then,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yep.
not a lot of people knew me during the first one in Southwest. It
So
was,
start at the beginning, yeah. What got
yeah.
you into
Well,
detailing?
my origin and my background stems from auto electrical and mechanical industry. So I'm an auto electrician by trade and a mechanic by recognition and prior learning, because I spent a lot of years in the auto industry. Uh, once I came out of that, I've done a little bit of white collar work, just trying to find myself, my early 20s and so forth, thinking, there's got to be a better way than just, turning spanners and having grease on your hands. And I'd done quite well in BDM and account management and sales roles external to this, but it wasn't my thing. There wasn't I wasn't drawn to it. There wasn't a lot of passion in it. Just cars were always my thing. So long story short, I done a bit of a circle and fell into a product called Restore Effects. I don't know if some of the listeners out there might know it. It's from Canada. It's basically a two-part clear coat that you hand apply with an applicator, like a ceramic coating, but you're actually applying two-part clear on top of paint, hoping that it's going to make that car look
So
good.
you would literally put it on a pink Lancer that once
Yeah.
was red, and then it would just be red again, right? Like that
Correct.
was the sales pitch back then. I
Correct.
remember
And
seeing
and
that.
yeah, and did it work? Yes, it worked, but it had its shortfalls pretty early on. And I noticed that it cost me about 5 grand to buy into the system. At that time, I called myself Crystal Clear Paint Correction. I wasn't
Oh yeah.
associated with anything detailing wise or anything like that. I didn't know anything. Well, I lie. I knew a lot about detailing because I've always had done up cars and I was always an enthusiast and spent a lot of time in the panel shops and spray in the spray shops. So I knew a lot about the back end of it, but professionally I hadn't touched it. And I always associated detailing, like with your ordinary car wash and so forth. And
Hmm.
and I never wanted to be associated with that. I wasn't the car wash guy as per se, but I paid about 5 grand into this Restore Effect system, became authorized as per se, and got my starter kit. I probably done less than a handful of cars, maybe 2 or 3 cars, and because of my experience in the auto industry, I saw its shortfalls pretty quick.
Mm.
The paint started oxidizing within a month underneath the clear that you're putting on,
Oh,
and
great.
let's face it as well, the demographic that you're attracting with that isn't the greatest because you're appealing to owners with shit boxes, if you like,
Yeah.
right? Something old and clapped out that's got, faded, oxidized, peeling clear coat,
And
and
can't afford a respray.
can't afford a respray. So you're there off. Look, and I can't remember what the price point was back then. This is going back, I don't know, 10 years ago now and so forth.
Yep.
Mm.
And I think I'd done a Hilux in it last, and it had some oxidation that I polished out, rotary polished it. And at that time, you didn't scotch it up or anything like that to get the clear coat on. You used acetone, pretty much like a solution of acetone, which would soften the paintwork, making it more porous, hoping that that clear that you're applying on there, which just self-leveling clear, which mind you as well, you'd get like dust specks in it and stuff like that. You are hand applying it, but instantly it gave you a real glamorous glow on it, and it looked like it did look good. It looked like you resprayed the whole car straight out of a booth, but you'd cop the
Wow.
basic issues from a respray, short thereafter. You get a little bit of sink back, and like I said, the paint started to oxidize again underneath because you're basically putting a band-aid over cancer.
Mm.
Yep.
So while I did do that, which wasn't very long, I automatically started getting a request about ceramic coatings at the time. And I'm like, well, what's ceramic coating? Like, it was pretty new in Australia. About a decade ago, ceramic coatings were at their embryonic stage. And it was Joel Blake that, introduced it here into Australia, and he'd done a very good job at bringing it in here. He brought in OptiCoat. That was the craze at the time. People wouldn't say, I want to get a ceramic coating done on my car. I want to get my car OptiCoated.
Yeah.
And Joe, you could relate to that. That's how it
Yeah.
was.
Mm.
It was big.
OptiCoat was the thing. So I jumped on a competitor's product at that time. I couldn't get onto OptiCoat for obvious reasons. When you're trying to approach someone and you knew, oh yeah, no, we've already got dealers and so forth. So I accepted that. I got onto a competitor of theirs in Queensland. I can't remember who it was now, but Joel and him didn't see eye to eye on a number of matters, obviously. And he gave me some material that I put up on my Facebook page showing differences between OptiCoat and his product. And I very quickly got bombarded by Saad. I remember Saad
Oh, yep.
straight on.
Friend
And
of the show. Friend of the
oh
show.
yeah, straight away. Saad's not shy to get into an online debate as per se. But my initial take was, hey, I'm the new guy, I'm the new kid on the block. I don't know what's going on. I sort of just took it all in. I said, look, guys, I'm so sorry. I don't know anything about this. This is just what marketing material, the
Yeah.
product supply's given me. If it's such a big deal, I'm just going to take it down. No stress. Like,
Yeah.
why are you guys acting like a bunch of hairdressers? Like, it's not that bad. So that was my first taste of some of the bitchiness that occurs in the industry, as per se.
Yep.
And I like to think I dealt with it accordingly. And it was because of that when I went into the store in Seven Hills at that time, which was Zen Automotive Supplies. I went in there
Mm,
to buy my first orbital, which was a Zen tool,
mm,
and I met with then Joel's ex, Alicia,
mm.
um, and she recognized me from the name, and then she said, "Oh, you're that guy, that sort of bagged out the product and got bombarded online." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." And she goes, "Oh, okay." She goes, "Is there any reason why you're not using OptiCode?" I said, "I tried." I said, "I sent an email, and this is the response I got." She goes, "Okay, let me have a word to Joel." I think that they liked how I handled it at the time pretty professionally. I didn't, arc up or get defensive or, nah, this product's better or that product's better. I'm like, look, guys, if it's an issue, I'm just going to take it down. Who cares? It's just an image, it's just a photo, and they're just
Yeah.
products at the end of the day. So straight after that, I got onto OptiCoat. At that time, I was a mobile detailer. I had started originally out of my Subaru. I had a GDB spec Subaru Liberty STI. I was working out of the boot of it. Then I ended up
Nice.
getting a trailer to tow onto the back of it. But that didn't last long before I bought a caddy, and I started working out of a caddy.
Yeah, the caddies.
Yeah, the caddy.
Real detailer's car. Hey.
Yeah, I had some problems with the gearboxes on it and stuff like that.
Oh,
Those
we all did. Yeah.
I went through it on the DSG version, and then everyone said, "Why'd you get a DSG? Get a
Yeah.
manual." Well, then
Yeah. Yeah.
I got a manual and it shit the diff fell right out of the box, so you couldn't win. But
Uh,
I'd done mobile for a couple of years, going around people's houses, like a lot of the mobile detailers are today. Still, it's a it's quite a grind. Um,
mm,
I'm happy that I went through it because I can relate to all the guys out there that are still on the
yeah.
grind on the tools and in mobile
It's
condition.
like the apprenticeship of detailing in a way, like
It
mobile
is, man.
detailing. Like
It
it's
is.
different. Like if you don't have to do it, then that's okay. Dale, I don't think you did mobile, but you haven't done your apprenticeship yet, mate. But
I've done
Yeah,
some
like I
type of
kind of feel
mobile.
like it. Look, it's not a bad thing if you've gone straight into a premises, but I kind of feel that you haven't felt you might not have a greater appreciation of how awesome it is to have everything at your disposal. On your left hand side, you've got your cabinet there. Over there, you've got this space where you do that and so forth. But I do also feel that it sharpens you up a little bit as well.
oh yeah.
Being put in extreme conditions like that, poor lighting. You're pulling out lights out of your van and your pressure washer's got to go back again. Like the worst thing, and I don't know if the mobile guys will relate to it, it's not getting there doing the job. At the end of a long day, it was just packing up your stuff and putting it back in
Let's
the
throw it
van.
all in.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like far out. Like I've got to go put all this stuff back in again just so I can go take it back out again at the next place. And look, I
Yeah.
was running around everywhere. I was going as far as
Everything
Newcastle.
breaks in the car too. Like
Yeah, yeah.
things break down so much more often.
You get pretty innovative of how you're going to mount things in
Mm,
there and what's more efficient and so forth. But I traveled around just Sydney wide. Wherever there was work,
yeah.
I'd go. It wouldn't bother me. I was going to Newcastle, so Central Coast, Newcastle, Wollongong, wherever there was a job and wherever I could get something, I just go there. And every single location and job was a challenge because you could probably relate to this, Joe. You'd ask someone, say, like, do you have cover or do you have a garage? Yeah, 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 yeah. I've got a garage. And you rock up there and you go, mate, I can't even open the doors in here of your car. It's like,
Yeah.
well, if you ask me if I got a garage, it's like, yeah, but how am I going to work with my back up against the
It's
wall?
like I've got a garage, but it's full of crap.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You got a garage.
You can't fit a
The
car
garage
in there, but I got
outside.
one.
Yeah, I got a garage. It's like, mate. So look,
Oh
I think
dear.
coming out of that into a premises, at the time I started in, I'd done 2 years and I thought I just want to see what, like a fixed location and a premises is going to be like. So I went somewhere where I thought it was going to be a bit cheaper, which is in southwest Sydney, down towards Campbelltown area at the time.
Mm,
And I think I was paying something like $400 a week in rent. So it was $1,600 a month. I figured I can carry that, if you
yeah,
get
yeah,
stuff and so forth. And I thought, I had clients behind me, but I didn't. I had clients that were your mobile customers.
mm,
Mm.
And you'll find that there's two ends of this demographic. There's ones
yeah,
that suit the mobile detailer, and there's ones that want a guy that's got a fixed premises.
yeah,
And my whole database was fixed on them being happy to work with me because I go to them.
yeah. The convenience that you're coming to them is why they're
Correct.
using you.
Yes. So it wasn't about who I was. It wasn't about the skill set I had. And looking back, let's be realistic. Who was I and what was I at the time anyway? I was just your run-of-the-mill mobile guy that just offered some polishing and a coating and so forth. And a lot of people are going through that same scenario right now. But
Yep.
I found pretty quick smart that, yeah, like you said, it wasn't based on what I had to offer or price or anything like that. It was based on convenience. So
Mm.
there is two ends of the demographic. There's the market that looks for the convenience, and there's those that are willing to sacrifice the convenience, or they don't care about convenience as per se. They like the luxury of taking their car somewhere with a professional outfit, the correct lighting, the correct setup, and so forth. But I had to remarket myself and start again, basically.
Yep.
And one thing that I found from the get-go is a lot of the customers, when I went and got the fixed premises, they were like, "Oh, yeah." I said to them, "I've got a premises now." It's like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, but can you still come out to me?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Look, yeah, I probably could jump in the van. I've still got it, the van, and I could still drop my stuff in there." But I'm like, Why did I get the premises for? Storage."
Yeah. Yep.
So I made it, I made it quite clear and a rule to myself that I wouldn't entertain that from early on. I'm like, "No,
Mm.
if they're not willing to come to me, this isn't what I'm pursuing. This isn't where I want to go. Because if I just keep doing that, how are you ever going to get set up in a fixed studio? If you just keep going out to them and offering them that convenience, they're never going to come to you."
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
So what I found is that they never came anyway, and I just had to reinvent myself. I pretty much started all again. All I used the mobile sector for was just a little bit of experience and understanding the market and what coatings were and how to work in all sort of varying conditions at that
How to
time.
detail in the dark.
How to detail and apply coatings in the dark. Look, I got so good at it by the end, you could pretty much close your eyes while putting a coating on.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
for the most part, you've probably got most of it off. Like, would you have copped a
Mm.
few eye spots here and there? Yeah, I'm not going to lie. And we still do.
Yeah,
Anyone that's out
yeah.
there that's thinking and lying that they don't get high spots on jobs that leave, you probably just haven't seen them. And in the right
Mm.
light, someone else might. So um, these are just some of the challenges that come along with doing a job as detailing as per se. But
So you got your first shop
I
and
got my
then,
first shop, and
yep.
it wasn't placed demographically very well in terms of affluence and so forth in the area. So I was facing a market where I had to be very competitive. And I think at that time, Joe, you could probably relate, we're probably doing Optico for $700 or 750 or something like that.
Yeah, yep, yep.
799 or 600. Heck, probably some of us just dropped our pants at times, just done it for $500, put it on a card just to get work or whatever it
Yeah,
was.
yeah, totally.
So I found that the market wasn't very receptive down there to these higher end sort of jobs. And that was the time, I think it was probably around 2015, which is going back a decade, where I started to experiment with paint protection film,
Mm.
right? So um sorry guys, someone just said let me open up. I was eating.
That's right.
Um yeah, so it wasn't until that time that I picked up a box of PPF, which happened to be Suntech, and it was at my cousin's tint shop because at that time Kieran was running Suntech. Kieran was the manager, and Kieran was mainly pushing tint at the time. Like PPF was really at its embryonic stages here.
Mm.
I remember there was only a couple of OGs at the time, which would have been Andrew Jackson, which God bless him is a fantastic guy. We've never really crossed paths since I've started, as in even been competed or compared against. Like we've both stayed in our own lanes, and it was only just recently as well that we just started following each other on social media as well, and we kind of like each other's stuff. But like, he's got an amazing attitude, and he was probably one of the first that started here, along with David Ianello of Clear Shield at the time.
Mm.
I'd like
Yep.
to call them the OGs of Sydney. I'm not going to talk about
Yeah.
Australia wide because we've got the Tim Allisons and so forth from Adelaide that also gave a lot of input and really brought PPF to where it is today. But those were pretty much the couple of guys that were here, and
Yep.
PPF was a close guarded secret as per se,
Yeah, it was. Yeah, definitely.
right? And I'd got into my first 60-inch roll of PPF from my cousin who just gave it to me because Kieran passed it on to him as well. And I remember the first car that I did was an XR8 Sprint. It was black with a bonnet, the bonnet bulge on it and so
Well,
forth.
yeah.
Yeah.
And man, all I'd done was just watch a couple of YouTube videos that Suntech had put out. They were pretty much the only guys on YouTube that had any material, which was Suntech. And they had some guy just talking about the slip solution and attack solution. And he'd be using terms like for bulk wrapping, follow bulk installation. instructions. And I'm going, what the heck is bulk install instructions? Like, what does that mean? But anyway, because I had experience in the auto industry, I could turn a spanner pretty well. I thought, you know what, I've got this. How hard can this be? He's just using a squeegee and some solution there. And you
Yeah.
watch him do it. He's just going bang, bang, squeegee, squeegee, here, spray, spray, here, done and done. I'm like, all right. So I got my hands on it. And guess what? It was very far from easy to apply. As anyone that sort of touches it for the first time, there's a lot of challenges
Take note.
that you're
Yeah,
faced
everyone.
with.
Yeah.
And it was a steep learning curve because there wasn't any courses as per se to just go to. No one was advertising anything. But probably after about 3 months, I think it was, I did reach out to Andrew Jackson from Aussie Cozzy because I done a quick Google search. Okay, who's doing this stuff out there? Am I on the right track here? Am I doing something wrong and so forth? And Andrew was quite receptive of having me come to his shop. You know, I think he charged a couple $100 a day or something like that back then just for me to ghost them and just see what's going on, which was really beneficial for me because I was like, okay, you kind of are doing the right thing, but you're missing this aspect or you're not handling the film like that and so forth. And that's what you'll find through your journey in PPF, that it's only a couple of these little tips here and there that's going to really separate you and give you an edge as to what you're doing and how you're progressing in the game. But it was pretty much just a steep learning curve with no one really showing me anything afterwards. I just took away what I learned there in a couple of days. You know, I got to slap on one mirror or something like that. And I remember Andrew telling me at the end, I go, what do you think? You know, and he goes, you're going to get this. He goes, I can usually tell when I see someone, whether they've got this or don't. He said, you're going to get this.
Cool.
And yeah, fast forward 10 years later, I've got this.
You've got
But
it.
I suppose the point that I want to make is that it was such a steep learning curve for some of us early guys because there wasn't even an online course that you could go and sign up to where
Yeah.
they'll just show you how to stretch fingers or talk about, you know, some of the basics about PPF. It was just all about getting the film on the car. Like I remember it took me 2 hours to just do a C-class headlight because it needed stretch,
Mm.
right? And I'm just sitting there just trying to jam fingers down. It was Gen 1 Suntech film. The adhesive was rubbish on it anyway to begin with. And I was thinking, no, the film's a problem here. I need to figure out a way how to increase its adhesive power.
Yeah.
I must need to use some sort of a glue underneath it or something like that to make it grab. Because, you know, you're getting fingers popping up and you're going, yeah, but if I could just get these little things to stay down, it looks pretty perfect, right?
Yeah.
So it was a steep learning curve. And at that time as well, Saad from Obsession had joined as well. Like we pretty much started around the same time. And we're both kind of motivating each other. And I remember Saad saying, I think it was about 6 months in, he's going, no, 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 man. He goes, I'm gonna throw the towel in. He goes, this is shit. How can you make money off it? Like, it's too hard. How could you do a front end and make money on it? I was like, no, 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 Saad, you've got this. We're gonna keep going, you know, blah, blah, blah. He'd be like, okay. And then a few weeks later, I'd be like, nah, Saad, I'm throwing the towel in. Yeah. Nah, man, you've got this, you know, like keep going, don't worry about it. So we kind of just motivated each other to kind of just stick it through. And I think we're both glad that we pretty much did that for each other. And Saad's another guy that, you know, we started from Opticoat and so forth
Yeah.
back then. And same as you, Joe, I've met you through the Opticoat network
Yeah.
from, you know, from back then, almost about a decade ago.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm I'm really happy that I brushed shoulders with some of you guys along the way because like I said, we motivated each other and we helped
Mm.
each other. There wasn't a lot of secrets, you know, we're open with each other. Are you doing this? Are you doing that accordingly and so forth? And that's the kind of attitude I've taken forward even till today. I don't hold anything close to my heart or closely guarded. If someone asks me, I'm going to tell them how to do something. And
Yeah.
I like to think that everyone should be like that. And it's an industry where we should help each other rather than, you know, like tarnish each other and say things like, you know, oh, I saw he done a car and there's still swirl marks on it and so forth. Like, well, guess what, dude? You've put out a car, it's still got swirl marks on it as well before you.
Yeah.
I'll guarantee you have. If you
Yeah.
haven't, you're part of the 1% that's just lying
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
because
right.
it just is the way it is. So, yeah, so I finished up in Campbelltown probably about 3 years after. I I met my current partner, which is my wife. She was from the North Shore, from the lower North Shore area. So I was traveling from down south to the North Shore all the time. And I noticed here that their dailies weren't Golfs or a Camry or anything like that. They were Macans. Their
Yeah.
three cars was just a Macan was a base car that they drive around in.
Yeah.
So seeing GT3s and GT2s drive around here in Lambos and Ferraris doesn't really get many necks turning. It's just a bit of a given.
Mm.
It's just the demographic. And I seen that and I thought, you know what? If you can't make this work as a business venture in this area, because that's the market that you want to appeal to, well, then it's just not for you and you're not cut out for it. Go back to the drawing board to do something else. So I got my first premises in Lane Cove, which was a lot smaller than this one. And then probably I decked it out, put a hoist in it, done my first lot of mods, basic stuff, some basic lighting on the walls and so forth. Then about 3 months later, COVID hit.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Yeah, and I was like, wow,
Yeah,
like
wow.
seriously, man, like I didn't even get a chance to, get steamrolled or anything like that. I remember I also reinvented my name, from crystal clear. Well, I went from crystal clear paint correction to crystal clear detailing when I started doing opti-coating and so forth. And then I just wanted something different. And that's when I came up with Detail Lab and the logo and so forth when I moved to the North Shore. And I just started the website. It wasn't even ranking. I was still paying for AdWords. And then yeah, COVID hits. And I'm like, far out. Like, who's going to get anything like that related done to their cars
Mm.
where it's going to involve, detailing or coding? It's like, no one's going to be interested like this. This is like a global crisis.
Yeah.
But
Meanwhile.
yeah, meanwhile, it just went nuts. It just exploded. And it propelled us to be able to experience growth. I took on someone at that time, Eric, which was one of my first workers, and he helped me grow accordingly. We still stay in touch. He's a great bloke. He spent about 4 years with me. He was 22 at the time, and then when he left, when we came over to this current shop, he was 26. It was quite sad to leave, and I was quite sad to see him go because we formed quite a good bond and good relationship. But yeah, then we moved into our premises here, which is probably about 3 times the size of Lane Cove. At the moment, it's myself and another team of 4. So I've got 2 installers for PPF, 2 detailers that rotate as well. So they prep the cars, do the ceramic coating detailing, and I handle all the day-to-day running of the business, which is quite grueling. As if someone's like yourself, Joe, you managed a workshop there with quite a few guys under yourself as well, and like, yeah, here and there you might have jumped on to help the guys, and it's not as if you didn't want to, but it's like it takes quite a toll on you to be able to work on cars and to sit there and take phone calls, answer emails, prepare quotes, greet the customers when they drop the cars off, run through the procedures when they pick the car up and so forth.
Mm.
So this is a whole nother role in itself. Running a business and, with staff and so forth is a whole nother business in itself. So
Yeah.
yeah,
There's a lot there to
so that
unpack.
brings us forward to here, and obviously we had a different. We'd grown the business to a point we had enough capital to sort of start marketing differently, deck the place out a little bit differently, and appeal to a different demographic. Which, if people are listening out there, all those things together really help.
Mm.
So yeah, and that brings us forward to today, and we're about 4 years into being here in our current premises, and I don't see myself really wanting it to grow anymore. I'm happy where it is and just sustaining it and really just being the best that we can offer at this scale, because what I've quickly noticed that to keep scaling, there's sacrifices that come along with that. The main sacrifice that are going to come with it is that you're no longer really in direct control of the product that's being offered. It is in someone else's hands. How they're handling that product, whether it be a coating, detailing, or PPF, is dependent on how you manage their expectations, what your quality control is like, and so forth. So if you want to have a real quality control business on a larger scale, you're going to have someone that shares the same values, the same quality control ability, and so forth in order to go there. And I think any other business owner is going to relate with me that that is going to be the next hardest big step to
Mm.
do, is having someone like that.
Yeah. The
And
stakes are high with PPF, hey.
it's very hard with the PPF. Look, I find the same challenges though, just with coatings and detailings.
Yeah.
Like someone's idea of perfection in a detail or a polishing phase is different to your idea of what it might be. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um, I think staff, I won't say staff directly is a problem. I think you gelling with the right staff, finding someone that's what you'd say is an acceptable level to be a part of your business is going to be the hardest next step. So this is why I choose to sort of stay at this level, and I'm happy to be where I'm at. We're doing okay, financially, and I don't think that I want to really see it grow into anything a lot bigger than this. What I'd probably like to see is me take my hands off the business a lot more, if anything, and still
Yeah.
have it running at the same pace. That's probably my goal.
Can you give us an overview of what um your week looks like now? Like how many teams you got, how many cars you're doing, what kind of jobs? Not because we
Yeah,
want people to think that, oh, Elias, he's just showing off. No,
yeah,
but we want to
yeah,
give people a real understanding, like
yeah,
of what your day or week looks like, because you do run a really good shop. It's
yeah.
not, it is not like you don't have investors, you don't have,
No, no,
one person bringing in 50 new cars,
no, 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 no.
So
And you know what? That's you can correlate that to the number of reviews we've got, because I
yes,
found that generally places that have got one person that brings in 50 cars a year, surprisingly, even though the shop looks pretty glamorous and a lot of lights on it, they've only got less than 40 to 50 reviews.
yeah,
So having, I deal a lot with the retail market, your mum and dad's, some of your luxury market. It's a bit of it's a bit of a mix that I like to work with. I don't focus purely on exotics or purely on luxury or anything like that. I'll take on anyone that has an interest in what we do and what we have to offer as a business. They'll mainly base it around their decision to use us being on our reviews. It's heavily based on our reviews and word of mouth, and on our overall image and how we present ourselves. So at any given time, we're probably doing anywhere from 1 to 3 coatings a day. We average about 2 coatings a day, with about 2 full PPF wraps and 1 to 2 full fronts a week. With those 2 full fronts as well, bring probably more than likely hybrid installs where we say, it's got a ceramic coating attached
yeah,
to it and the PPF on it as well, which also worth noting at this point is probably the most profitable um,
yeah,
product to sell. It'd be a combination of some PPF front, full window tint ceramic coating with interior protection, and your maintenance products. You can get them up to about 4.5, 5 grand, and it's a lot faster than doing a full car install. There's a lot less risk involved. There's a lot less
yeah.
headache. It's much more manageable. It's faster, and you can do a lot more of them. But you can't have your cake and eat it too. Like I said, we just take on a good mixture of things. Sometimes we might only have 1 full wrap a week and so forth. But knock on wood, we haven't really had a time we've just had nothing on, in a week as per se. But yeah, I'm not going to lie. There's been scary moments where, for me, not being busy means that my pipeline has gotten a lot shorter than what I'd like it to be. So if I had a pipeline that looks pretty healthy and it's projecting into 2 to 4 weeks and so forth, or 5, 6 weeks like we've had at times, PPF 8 weeks, and then all of a sudden you're waiting as to what's going to come in next week, that's a pretty shaky scenario to be in as a business owner.
Yeah.
But it's one that everyone's going to be in at some given point of time, during their their walk in this industry, and you're not alone. You're everyone's facing it.
Hmm.
And like I think I've mentioned just before this, that there's a lot of people that are going to, due to maybe pride and ego, they're not going to accept or be willing to expose out there that they're quiet at any given time. You ask them how you're going, they're going to say, yeah, yeah, we're very busy. And like, well, that's funny. I haven't seen you active on your socials and so forth. But it's like, okay, if that's what you're saying, it is what it is. But I can guarantee you there's times that they're not busy as well. Now, whether they tell you or not, that's up to the individual. That's their prerogative. But don't let that dampen your mojo as per se and how you're rolling. Stay in your own lane. I've kind of, followed that rule all along. And there's some other mentors that have told me the same thing in the past. Like, mate, just don't worry what anybody does out there, how much they're charging. And look, I'm
Focus
not
on
saying,
you.
yeah,
Mm.
I'm not saying don't know your competition. It's important to know what your competition's charging, price points, and so forth. Yeah, but don't sit there and just harbor on about it and get yourself all down in the dumps because someone's charging half the price as what you are. It's like, look, there was a point where I was charging a third of what I'm charging now. Would I like to have been judged at that time as to what I was charging? No, who am I to come into someone's shop and tell them how to sweep the floor?
Yeah.
It's their prerogative. And I still get a lot of detailers, that call me and say, oh man, have you seen what such and such is charging? And I'm like, okay, yeah, cool story. Like, how do you know if he might have a difficult week at hand at that time and he's just trying to keep his shop busy and keep the doors open?
Yeah.
Like, I remember there was a time, I think I was doing full fronts at 1350 or 1400 or something like that. And I did engage with someone that's pretty known in the industry at the moment, and he's like, "Oh man, with your skill set, you don't have to charge that. You should charge more." And I'm like, "Dude, you're not paying my bills.
Mm.
Yeah, like you've been doing that. You've got a much more glossier image than I do at the moment, and yeah, you can afford to charge 2.5 grand because you're getting to work at that. I'll guarantee
Mm,
you, if I start firing out 2.5 grand, where I'm not at a position yet to start firing those prices, I'm just not going to have any work, and I'm going to close my doors down." Now, are you telling me that because that's what you want from me? Or is that
mm,
your honest advice? Because if you ask me, someone out there that's starting, don't be ashamed if you're charging cheaper. And I'm the competition here telling you that.
yeah.
Do not be ashamed. You do whatever you've got to do to put, food on the table as per se, if you
Mm,
feel that that's the right thing to do. But I need to tell you this, that if you do it for a long period of time, or you're very open about what you're charging out there on social media and so forth, you're very quickly going to be known as the cheap guy. And it's going to take you a lot of effort, if not maybe never going to be able to recover from that sort of price point. And no one's going to want to charge now all of a sudden because you've gotten better and you want to charge, 8 grand for a full car, 9 grand, where, you're the 4.5 or the 5 grand guy for PPF as per se. Or for coatings, you were doing 500. Now you want to get 1,500 or 2 grand. They're going to go, no, well, last time I came to you, we're charging that.
yeah.
Because all you've done is you've attracted that end of the demographic. You're going to get stuck with it. So, a word of caution, yes, it's not the end of the world if you're charging cheap to make ends meet, but go with the flow. Just, I found that my prices vary throughout the year, and I've got, yeah, from prices and so forth online, but I'll quote accordingly to what I feel is necessary during the time of how busy I am,
Yeah.
right? If I'm
Dynamic
I've
pricing.
heard that. Yeah.
Yep, it's very variable. If I'm super busy, I'm gonna hit you pretty hard with a price. If you like it and you want to go for it, cool, join the queue. Now, if I'm staring down a pipeline that looks pretty dry, I'm gonna work hard to get your business. That's gonna mean I'm probably gonna drop my pants compared to what I
Yeah.
usually charge to get you through the door to carry me through those low times.
Yeah.
So perhaps maybe that's why the shop's never been empty, as such, because I've used that tactic or a technique, or I like to just call it common sense, really,
Yeah.
and not being egotistic or prideful about who you are in the market and what you charge and so forth, and just go with the flow, go with the market. The market's always going to dictate, for the most part, where you're going to find yourself in the pecking order, as per se.
Mm,
So don't be ashamed of charging what you have to charge. Don't listen to anyone. And for those sitting there, casting stones at any businesses about what they charge, I say, just look at yourself, focus on yourself. Don't worry about what they're charging. If they're charging a lot less, focus on why you can't get what you think that you are charging, rather than why he's
yeah.
charging lower.
Yeah.
And use that as a gauge and a stepping stone as to
Mm.
what you can charge and can't charge.
I'll say one thing and then Dale, we'll jump to you. And it's kind of like what you're saying is so true because you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you start out new and if you jack your prices up to be the same as an existing business, you'll
Yeah.
be looked at as, mate, you can't
Look at
charge the
this
same
guy.
as us. You've
Yeah,
just
yeah. Look at this
started.
guy. Who do you think
You're
you
just the
are?
runt. But
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
if you do a good budget and figure out, well, I got no overheads because I operate from home.
Yes.
I got no staff. I got hardly any risk. I can charge this much and still be really profitable. Then you'll get done for charging too cheap.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, so
It is a
you
bit of a
can't really
double-edged
win. So
sword.
you got to really focus, stay in your lane, hey, and do
Yeah.
what's right. It's different if you're trying to rip everyone off and you'll be cheaper than everyone else and you're going out intentionally to rip off other details. That's a different story, I believe personally. But just stay in your lane, do your budget, figure out how can you be profitable and how is it scalable. But
Correct.
yeah, what do you
Correct.
reckon, Dale?
Yeah, well, I think a big thing that I've noticed is Google reviews. Is like you've obviously been working on them
Mm.
since day dot, and you were
I
talking
have.
about SEO and stuff like that. So do you do all the marketing yourself? Is that by you? And
I don't directly, so I've had a good SEO team with me for the past, I dare say it's probably going to be about 5 years or so. So they've done a great job at organically getting the website to rank, as I said, organically, and more in recent times as well. We've started to hit Facebook a lot more. I was under the impression that, Facebook leads were all rubbish and so forth. And look, for the most part, if you don't know how to fish on Facebook, like I like to say that it's like when you first go fishing, if you don't know what you're doing, what bait to use and where to go to find the fish, you might say that fishing's bullshit, it doesn't work, and I can't catch any fish. That means
Mm.
that fishing is bullshit. It doesn't
Yeah,
work.
yeah,
So Facebook advertising and Facebook leads do work. You've got to get your right advertising, a right way of appealing to the market. Um, at this point in time, we're finding that videos are really well ranking. Um, through your, it's got to be informative. You've got to appeal to their understanding. Like where I find Facebook is rubbish. So, and I went through some of these marketers before in the past. Well, I'll just take a photo of a car you've done that just says, oh, ceramic coating, paint correction, blah, 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 blah. And then he'll just boost it for 50, 60,
yeah.
$80. And then you just sit back and then you kind of wait to collect some sort of a decent lead. And it's like, you're just going to get guys with Corollas and so forth, just tire kickers coming through. And that's not probably the best approach. And that's a surefire way of just, burning money online on social media anyway. So I think that you need to place your eggs in more than one basket when it comes to marketing and really spreading your wings. You got to have equal SEO organic presence online, your Google My Business, your reviews, and then your social media, Facebook, and your Instagram activity, and the way that you present as a business to the general public. All those things together are really going to make a difference as to where you end up.
yep,
That's so
yeah,
true.
no,
Because once one dies down, you can easily depend on the other ones.
Correct. At the moment, I'm finding that some of the organic stuff through Google isn't coming through, but
Hmm.
we're getting Facebook leads that are coming through so we're fortunate through that way there. So
And arguably, that's more community like people in your local area. Probably you're popping up in their feed,
um,
maybe
it's
for these ads.
that depends on how you've got it set up
Yeah,
demographically.
yeah, yeah.
Ads, we canvass the most of Sydney because we do also have loan cards available and stuff like that as well. So
Nice.
if they do hit us up and say, oh, I'm on the other end of of Sydney or so forth, it's like, mate, it's not a
Yeah.
problem. We've got a loan card, just drop your car off. It's a courtesy car. You don't pay anything for it. Drop your car off, pick it up in a day or a week if you're getting PPF. And yeah, it just, you expand the network of clients that you can attract if you do get a loan car. So that could be another good tip out there for those listening, that if you are just expecting people, from your near suburbs to just appeal to you, well, then you're going to notice a lot more dry droughts
Yeah.
versus appealing to a broader end of your town, city, state, whatever you might like.
no.
Dale, you're going to say something before I jumped in.
I'm just fascinated by your Instagram profile with how the grid of cars you've got lined up on that. It's quite fascinating how that
Yeah, and that's
you've
quite a
done it.
pain in the ass to upkeep like that. And I did notice that at some points. A lot of other detailers have noticed that I've done that, and I've seen that they tried to do it at one point, but they quickly found out it's hard to sustain. You've got to be doing 3 posts at once all the time. I'm not going to say
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to say that I came up with it. My wife saw it on another detailer in America. I don't know who it was. She looked at it, and she's got a bit of OCD as well. She said, "You know what? That's how you need to look. See how clean it looks."
Mm.
Like you just look at it and you're like, wow. And actually, I've also got, gained clients just from that. And they've noticed, they said, oh, we like the way your Instagram looks.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying it's the best looking one out there or what have you not, but we keep it neat. We keep it short. We keep it sweet. Not every job that we do goes up on there. Again, I like to market to the end of the demographic that I want to appeal to. So if we have detailed, an old Corolla or something like that, well, it ain't going to go up there because let's face it, I don't want to do a lot of details on a lot of Corollas.
Yeah. Oh,
And I'm
100%.
not, yeah, I'm not casting any shade on anyone that does do that. It's quite a lucrative end of the market as well. But if that's what you're your goals are and that's what you want to focus on, then
How many
sure.
Corollas are going to get a full body wrap? I can't think of many.
I haven't done. I've done a handful of full fronts on them. Like,
Yeah, cool.
yeah, that makes sense. But no, you wouldn't get any full wraps or
Maybe a GR Yaris. That's probably as
GI
close as you're going to
Yaris.
get to a
Yes,
Corolla.
yeah, correct. So, yeah, so
Wow.
that's the Instagram side of things, and more recently as well with my, because you said, how far am I spread between doing, social media and that. I've got someone that looks after the social media posts now and doing that organic side of things. I've got someone that comes in and does our videos and does the reels and so forth that get popped up there and any ads that we might do. And then I've got a separate SEO guy that looks after the website, the back end and stuff like that. So, we've spread our portfolio of marketing spends and
Mm,
so forth accordingly. I think a general rule of thumb is about 20% of your revenue should end up going towards marketing. So, if you're
yeah.
doing sort of like,
It's good to
sub a
know.
mil a year or something like that, it's not a problem to be spending 200 grand on marketing yourself because, there's an old saying that you need money to make money.
Yep.
It's true.
So if you're doing 100 grand a year, if you're going to spend 20 grand a year, now if you're spending $2,000 a month on Facebook, there's what's that, 24 grand a year just there. Done. Don't feel hard done by it. It should give you a good return, 5x, 6x, 7x, whatever it might be, the formula that you're working towards to give you a return on investment. So,
No, it's a good thing. A lot of tips there for anyone
Mm.
within the industry. So, and talking about the industry, what are your thoughts on the Australian industry as it is now, and where products are going, and even coatings as
um,
well? We talk about them sometimes.
look, I think that the coding side of things has been overly saturated now. Like, if you're
Mm.
thinking about bringing in a new product, a new ceramic coating, yeah, you might get a little piece of the pie, but it is very heavily saturated with the ceramic coating products. Um, there's a lot of awareness though about ceramic coatings.
Yeah.
A lot of people have, like, there's a lot of work for everyone out there from every price point, from anyone offering a coating from 500 up to $3,000. There's a good array of demographic to pick from. There's a lot of good products for you to use out there as a detailer. I found over the years that they're all equally pretty good. By the time you've fitted one coating to five coatings to 10 coatings, you're going to notice, yeah, they're all pretty much the same. One just applies
Yeah.
a little easier than the other, wipes off a bit better. All their hydrophobicity is going to suffer the same sort of outcome where you're going to get a performance drop off within the first 12 months, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And you know that that's not the coating itself. It's micro contamination upon the surface that's altered the surface tension, which in turn is then going to change the way that it beads and performs. The way that you need to counter that and work with your customers is to make them aware from the get-go that you will suffer performance drop-off in terms of hydrophobicity.
Yeah.
Does not mean that that your coating's dead. So
Yeah.
one thing that I think I might put out there that you might notice that I don't do and some of the other bigger shops don't do as well is we don't take videos of us spraying the panel a lot, right? You might have just seen it once in a blue moon where we're going to show pretty beads on a panel on that because you're setting yourself up for failure in that respect. Now, if you
Yes.
find a customer that's how the coating's going to perform, and then they're doing that 6 months, 12 months down the track, guess what? I ain't going to do that. Like,
Yeah.
okay,
That's bit me on the butt, where I've showed a car that I coded 5 years ago, still beating,
yeah,
and then
okay, but
someone
that was a
came in.
garage. Yeah, but that was a garage queen.
Well, that's what I mean. But I did not
You did not make
stipulate
that
that.
apparent.
I didn't give that context.
Correct.
So
Correct.
all I told people was
We all
in
did
five
that. Yeah, he
years,
was a
your
car.
coding's going to beat.
Yeah, no, no.
Wrong.
Wrong. Yeah. If it's a daily driver within the first 6 months, certain areas that experience more traffic film and that the bottom edges of the doors and so forth, they're going to start dying in the ass. And
Yeah.
the coding world's going to want you to believe that if you decontaminate it, it's going to come back, which is another crock of shit. It won't.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. But it does
Yeah.
not mean that the coating died because I've tested panels individually where I've applied coating on it and I can see that it's deepened and richened the paintwork on it. And yes, it beaded. And as you hit it with contamination and so forth, the beading died out. And even though you tried to use traditional methods like acid washing, decon claying and so forth to bring it back, yeah, it kind of looked like it was a bit better of a bead, but it never came back to what it was. But I could still see the depth on that section of the bonnet that's still distinctly different.
Mm.
That has still got coating on it.
Mm.
It means that that coating is still on the pores of your paint there, and that you're still safe and it's impenetrable from any chemical fallout that it might get. So guys, don't sit there and try to show your own customers that the beading is a good indication of whether your coating's on there or not, because it will bite you back in the ass.
Yeah. It's got a bit of ownership's got to come back on, or responsibility's got to come back to the customer who owns that car, who's driving it,
It's
who's
all about
maintaining it. You know, that's a
all
massive
about that.
part.
It's all about that. When customers ask me, how long is this going to last or what have you not, I say, look, this coating that I've put on there, if you're going to put it in on your car and put it on one of those, blow up bubble sort of, contraptions that you've seen you put show cars in.
Carcoon.
Yeah, carcoons, yeah, and it's temperature controlled and climate controlled. Guess what? If you pull that car out in 50 or 100 years, forget the coating said 9-year warranty.
Yeah.
I will guarantee you that car will still bead the same as it did day one. So it's
True.
not a duration thing when you're
Lifetime warranty right there.
yeah, perma guard or dealership warranties.
Maybe that's what they were referring to.
Well, look, yeah, and I do say that to people, when you're getting offered products like that with a warranty attached to that, you're buying more of an insurance policy rather than
Yeah,
the product
spot
itself.
on. But see, it takes you 10 years, if I can
Yeah.
say, to figure this out, right?
Yes, yeah. Now, to be comfortable to admit it to yourself,
yeah, yeah,
X,
yeah.
Y, and Z will occur. Customers will react in X, Y, and Z manner. And then once you know these and you're geared in the right way, you can take on a lot of, what the market has to throw at you in terms of issues, objections, and so forth. And it's only going to make you better at what you do as a business in whole.
Yeah. Wow.
Exactly. No.
This has been gold. Well, we got 5
Absolutely.
questions. Is that right, Dale?
Yeah, man.
5
Yeah,
minutes.
yep.
Fast 5.
Yeah, fast five stage. So,
Yeah.
pretty simple ones. Can you remember your first ever detailing job?
No. You said fast, right? No, I can't think of it. I don't.
That's good.
Too long ago.
It'd have to be like not professionally, it would be my own cars, and then professionally I couldn't tell you. I can't remember.
Yeah. No, it's good. Do you have like a dream car or a favorite car you own, or you'd always want one?
That's always changed according to where I'm at in life, I suppose, and reality of what you can and can't afford. I've had a number of cars. My soft spot's rotaries, so I own an RX-7 with a Bridgeport turbo in it and so forth, and I've had FDs and I've got a Series 2 at the moment and so forth. So my soft spot's always, rotaries as a hobby car as per se, but I'm big into my Euros. I've got a G80 M3. In terms of maybe something that I might like to get a little more than that, working on a lot of cars, I also taken a big liking to Porsches. So, my ideal.
That Macan's rubbing off on you, hey?
Yeah, the Macan's definitely rubbed off on me in the past. But I'd like to think that my ideal all-round car would be something like I might cop a lot of slack for this. It's not a GT3 RS and probably not a GT2 RS as well. It'd probably be just something like a 911 Turbo. 991, 911 Turbo, that'd be something for me, like my ultimate dream car. You open your garage and I'd be like happy to see that, and probably even more so than an exotic like a Lamborghini or a Ferrari and stuff like that.
Yeah.
No, nice.
That's cool.
Favorite detailing tool or a product
Wow.
from what you used to like back in the day?
Okay.
Zen-tool polisher.
My favorite tool for detailing would have to be your machine polisher.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you're pretty much stuffed with it without it today with today's clear coats. Back in the day, if you were working with acrylics and so forth, which I did work with when I was younger, just on some personal cars, it's like you're working with butter. But yeah, it'd have to be your machine polisher, followed by your compounds. And then if we're going to talk about ceramic coatings, my favorite tool is going to be a high spotlight.
Oh, yeah.
And a tip that I can give to some of the guys out there, you need a diffused light. We use a mobile handheld panel that they actually use for videoing. So there's portable one with a battery powered in it, and it's got a variable switch on the back of it. You can change the temperature and the intensity of it. you change the temperature of it according to different colors that you're looking at. So once you've done a car, you walk around with it and you check it for high spots. And even then, like I said, I'm not saying we're the best. You're still going to cop an odd high spot here or there. You need to deal with stuff accordingly. If it comes back, just fix it. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
And then my favorite tool to do with PPF is going to have to be your squeegee because you can't work without it. I can work without a plotter. I can work. I can't work without a blade if you don't have a plotter because obviously you're going to be bulking. So there's a couple of stuff there that you're going to need as well. But yeah, in a nutshell, they're probably like your favorite basic things that you're going to need.
Yeah, nice.
It's gold.
We've probably covered along a lot of tips for any detailer starting out, but have you got any specific one if need be?
For someone just starting out, just like we've been reiterating this a lot through the podcast at the moment, stay in your own lane.
Yep.
Yeah, whatever you price to yourself and stuff like that, you don't need to get onto the detailing enthusiast page and say, hey guys, can you proof my prices and see what you think of them?
Yep.
Doesn't matter what they think of them. What do you think of them? And is it profitable enough for you to carry through like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I've always said that, and even Joe's seeing it now from the Sunshine Coast to where he's now, like market different. My market's
totally
different.
Different.
Market. My market's different to the Sydney market. I can't charge what Sydney's charging because I'd get run out of town. So it's
exactly
different markets.
Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, that's another good point. Just charge according to your market and your demographic. I mean, if you're living rural and that, like you said, don't worry about what, the city centre has, what they can charge and so forth. So,
yep.
But sometimes too, the clientele expectation is different too. Like people might not be as fussy where I am, so I can charge less because the stakes aren't as high, and it's not because I'm doing a disservice to my customers because they're absolutely stoked. As this is just an example, like I don't have to do the X, Y, Z because my customers don't even see that. Like, so why bother chasing my tail with that and charging them for it if it's not something that they think they're going to benefit from? So
yeah, exactly.
But anyway, it's cool.
No, that's good. And do you have any interests outside of detailing if you get time off?
At the moment, my interests are my kids and my family, to be honest with you. That's been a life changer, and it changes your perspective on life and what you're working towards and so forth. So yeah, I'd like to say that at the moment, my best hobby is my family.
Yeah, definitely.
Good answer. I'm sure the wife will be listening to this later on.
Yeah, there's some brownie points there.
Yeah. When you said dream car, I was waiting for you to say Kia Carnival or something.
Oh, looking at what we did actually look at carnivals recently. And you know what? To my surprise, to get something decent, they're like 85 grand.
They're pretty cool.
So
they're pretty sweaty. Yeah, they're good.
They're getting better too.
Yeah.
Nah, Elias, this has been amazing, mate. It's a lot of good stuff in there for a lot of people. So
yeah, well, it's been a pleasure and an honor for you guys to approach me to have a word on your podcast, and I wish you guys the best with this venture as well, and I hope that the network just keeps growing. And my biggest take home, I think, is going to be for everyone that's listening out there, if you're detailers, just be kind to one another as business to business. I think that's the best thing that I've experienced out there, is being kind, offering advice, never judging people as per se. I mean, look, sure, we're all going to have opinions of each other in the behind the scenes and that, but you don't need to make it public. You don't need to make it known to one another.
Yeah.
Just be kind to one another. At some point, someone's going to come across your work.
You're going to need someone. Yeah.
Correct. Someone's going to come across your work that might not be perfect. You're going to come across their work that's not perfect. You need to deal with that maturely and in an ethical manner as a business owner, and just don't cast shade on other businesses and so forth, because one day you're going to find that the finger's pointing back on yourself.
Totally.
100%. Yep.
Well, mate, if are you happy for people to reach out to you on socials? If they, because
and they do.
you really have a wealth of knowledge and experience.
Yeah, I urge people to please reach out if you've got any questions. I'm more than happy to share what little knowledge I might have. I'm sure there's others out there that have even got a lot more knowledge than I have, but I like to listen to others, and if others would like to listen to me and what we have to impart with and share, that I'm more than happy to give people advice.
Yeah.
Really appreciate that. Thanks, man.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, we'll wrap it up. Thanks again, mate.
No, thanks for having us, guys.
It was awesome, and cheers, Jay.
Thanks, hey.
All
Thanks,
right.
guys.
Talk soon. Thanks.
That was another episode of the Detailing Down Under podcast. Subscribe now for everything auto detailing in Australia.